Whoopsie. All right. What is good, everybody? It is your boy Lincoln Clay coming back at you, the godfather of gaming, the ageless wonder, L Daddy, Lincoln Daddy, all that good stuff. What's going on, everybody? Hype the gamer. What's going on? Let me clean my glasses off. So, want to thank everyone who took a second to watch my little road trip to Best Buy to pick up my Oculus Rift. A little embarrassing to have to wear the glasses there because there's some rather strong reading glasses, but it is what it is. I have to wear those to see. Uncompetitive, what is up? Arian Drake, what's going on? But I do have a diabetic eye examination on Tuesday, and we'll see what's going on there. But I was a little concerned that if I have to wear glasses that I may have to give up or limit how much I play VR because of, concerns about scratching the glasses up against the VR lenses. But no, it won't be compromised. I can still enjoy VR even with glasses on. So,
what slots do I plug in the Rift S, or is it the same slots as the normal Rift?
One of them you plug into the display port right next to the HDMI port, and then the USB port you have to plug it into a USB 3. Fatal Sharad, what is up? So had to take a minute to explain to my son how to plug the Rift S back up. Or I might just give me a second, folks. Let me just go show him. It'd be easier to show him. I'll be right back.
This right?
Yep.
Okay.
If there's a white dot on in there, yep. Put it on to see if you can see anything.
Well, yeah.
But you're gonna have to open the Oculus app though.
I was gonna say that.
Otherwise, it won't turn on unless.
So we can see stuff.
You can see stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, don't forget to plug those headphones back up.
The field of vision, field of view, it still seems the same as the normal Rift.
Okay. Okay, folks. Sorry about that. Yeah, Fatal Sharad, that is correct. The Oculus Rift S uses one of the display ports. It uses one of the display ports as well as a USB 3 port. Gone are the three sensors that I had from the CV1. With the CV1, it plugged into the HDMI port on your graphics card as well as a USB 3 port. Problem with that was that when I plugged the CV1 into the graphics card HDMI port, I didn't have anything to plug back into the TV from the PC. And you have to go flat screen first through there and then into the headset. So it's not a situation where you can just put the headset on and just go. It's like once I fire up the computer, I need to type in my PIN number to get me to the desktop. And then from there, I have to open up the Oculus app and then I can put on my headset. But you won't be able to see any of that if you're not getting the display out of the TV. So I had to order a display to HDMI port. So what I had to do was plug the Oculus into the computer. From there, use one of the display ports that had an HDMI port at the end of it, plug that in, and then run it to the TV. And I had to buy a second one. Do you still get a copy of Robo Recall for buying Oculus? Oh, that's a situation right there, Fatal Sharad, because see, all I did was I still have my account from the original Oculus. So when I plugged the Rift S into my PC, it just flashed a message that says, it looks like you're setting up. It looks like you have a Rift S. Do you want to set it up now? So it took a couple of minutes to set it up, which was very, very easy. And then I went into the library and all my games were still there. You know, I got a lot of games, so I didn't go through to see every single one. I didn't go through to see if Robo Recall was, you know, still installed or if it was going to try to make me buy it over or something like that because I got a different headset in there. But just giving a quick scan of it, all my games appear to be there. So, so I know where you're going with this, Fatal Charade, because I know, you know, you're talking about eventually, you know, buying your own headset pretty soon. And which in all likelihood, you'll probably end up with the Oculus Rift S. And I've heard that shit that people weren't able to get the free games from it, like the Robo Recall and that kind of stuff. I don't know. So maybe if they don't do it, maybe if enough people complain about it, they will. So that is something I really don't know about. All I can tell you is that I still have all of my games. So conversation from the chat pretty much led me to jump straight into the meat and the potatoes of the Oculus Rift S. There was some Riyad Dewan. What is going on? There were some reasons why I wanted the Rift S. There were some reasons why I was apprehensive about it. My reasons for wanting the Rift S, simple, was the resolution bump. Lincoln, you made your son ride in the back while the camera took the front. Hey, now listen up, Coon. Here in Michigan, kids have to ride in the back seat, I think, until they're 16 or even 18 years old. They have to ride in the back seat. It's the law. And my son's 13. So at the very least, he must ride in the back seat until he's 16, I think. So I have to go back and look at that. But I know it's at least 16 years old. With that being said, it's not worth getting the ticket. Yeah. I think like a few years ago, I got into an argument with his mother about him riding in the front seat. I think this when he was about 8, 9 years old. We got into it about him riding in the front seat. So I went and looked it up. You know, I went and Googled it. And yes, Michigan law says kids must ride in the back. I think until they're 16, maybe even 18. You said, did I see OBJ the Don stream? No, I did not. I do plan to check it out though. So I just hit watch later because you figured it was okay as long as they got a seatbelt on. Nope. If they're under 16, they got to be in the back. So yeah, I wasn't, I wasn't trying to pull any Rosa Parks shit or anything like that. Like get your ass in the back of the bus. I wasn't trying to do anything like that to my son. It's the law. It's the law here in Michigan. But getting back to again, let's say just Google search the law. It says they have to be at least 8 or 4'11". Okay. Well, thanks for that information. That's big. So I guess I won't have to do any more driving Miss Daisy shit with him and let him ride up front with me so we can go ahead and ride like gangsters. So hold on a second, y'all. Got to clean these glasses because yes, my vision is definitely blurred. It's been blurred for the past week, and I've been having to wear reading glasses to see. So, and these reading glasses are so powerful that if you get smudges on it, it looks like a blur. So, okay, that's straight from the Michigan Police website. Okay, all right, I stand corrected then, Fatal Charade. Thanks for the information on that. So getting to about the Oculus Rift S, the reasons why I wanted it was simply put was the resolution bump. That was it. as far as the reasons why I wanted it. The reasons why I was apprehensive about it was the tracking, the 80 hertz refresh rate, and that they used an LCD panel versus an OLED panel on the CV1 Rift.
By the way, I'm going to shoot the TNT.
So, yeah, let me take a drink real quick. I forgot I had a drink here. So when I get into the positives and the negatives about the Rift S, I might be jumping back and forth about that. But before I do, once again, I want to give a big shout out to Sebastian Ong of MRTV. I was a little bit worried about the situation with me having blurred vision. I'm guessing there's a pretty good chance that when I go in for this eye examination, there's probably a pretty strong chance that I'm going to come out of this having to wear glasses. So I was a little bit worried about that I might not be able to, that I was possibly going to have to give up VR because I didn't want a situation where I'm scratching up the lenses from wearing glasses underneath. There are lens protectors. I did buy some lens protectors for my CV1 Rift. And I tried them and I didn't like them because they were not clear. They were yellow. You said, how was the Rift S? It's got some positives and negatives, gamer tag. But before I get into that, I bought some lens protectors for the CV1. Didn't care for it. They were yellow, kind of hazy and shit like that. But Sebastian Ong, he did a video a few days ago talking about some prescription VR lenses. From a site called VR. It's called VR Optician. You can go to this website, give them your prescription, your numbers and shit like that, and they'll send you some lens adapters fitted to your prescription, and you simply put them right over the lenses of the VR headset. And there's two kinds, the standard prescriptions and some blue protective lenses that I guess protects your eyes. So my VR experience won't be compromised even if I have to wear glasses. So thank goodness for that. So big shout out to Sebastian Ong, because if I didn't see his video, I would have never known about this. With the Rift S, I will say that I can wear glasses underneath the Rift S. I've tried it already, and I can wear glasses underneath it. I just have to be careful putting it on. But I did purchase a warranty with my Rift S. You know how I am about buying shit from Best Buy. I get warranties. So if the thing screws up for any reason, if anything happens, I take it back and get another one. So getting into the positives and the negatives of the Rift S, like I said, it won't be in any particular order. I might be jumping back and forth because I'm just remembering shit off the top of my head. So I might think that I'm all done and something else might pop in. So it might jump all over the place. The positives, let's start with to me, which I feel was the elephant in the room as far as the positive side of it. That was the resolution. It's supposed to have a resolution of 1440. It shows. Up close, everything was razor sharp. The colors was dead. Don't call me daddy. What's up? Up close, the resolution, everything was razor sharp. Background, I put it like this. It was middle of the road. It wasn't razor sharp, background was like deep in the distance. It wasn't razor sharp, but it was still looked better than the standard Rift. So it was kind of middle of the road. So you can look down there, you can look down into the distance, and you don't see this blur, because with the PlayStation VR, and depending on what game you're playing on the Oculus Rift CV1, when you look into the distance, it's blurry, and Anthony of 365 said it best. Sometimes some of these games look like somebody took Vaseline and smeared it over a window pane, and that's how some of the blur looks sometimes in the distance on the PlayStation VR. Is this Mass Effect? Craig, the tech guy, what is going on, my friend? Craig, pretty soon I'm going to fire up Live from Wakanda again, and I'd like you to join me like we were doing before once I get that going. So, again, the resolution. Up close, razor sharp. You definitely notice the resolution bump up close. I mean, razor sharp, so sharp you can cut it with a knife. Again, in the background, Not blurry, but not razor sharp, but still clean enough that you can make out what's in the background. So definitely a plus there. Another plus, which was an absolute surprise, was the tracking. The tracking is great. That update must have it worked just like they said. Um, my son was playing Pavlov, and his closest hand, he put it right up against the Oculus Rift headset and never lost tracking. He was still able to pull the trigger on guns that he was shooting. Handguns, handguns, automatic rifles, all that stuff. He never lost tracking when he pulled his hands in close. The tracking, in fact, my son even thinks the tracking on the Rift S is better than the CV1. So the tracking is excellent. I was pleasantly surprised by the tracking. So that's another positive there. Another positive of the Rift S is the Guardian system. It is easy to set up. With the standard CV1, you had to take the controller and walk around your play area and draw and draw your Guardian that way. With the Rift S, the laser pointer, you just point. You don't have to walk around. You can just point out your boundaries that you want to draw. And then once you got everything set, it'll show you what the grid looks like. And so instead of that cage that you would see, you see plus signs all over the place. And as you get closer to the boundary, those plus signs start to get wider and actually start to form a cage. And when you get too close, the cage will turn red. And if you go outside of that cage, the camera switched so you can see everything that's going on inside that room. So I can see my living room. I can see my TV in front of me. I can see my Alienware computer right in front of me. So it's like, if you go outside the boundaries of that Guardian, to me, is like impossible to trip over anything as long as your play space is clear. You walk outside that Guardian, like I said, the camera switch on, everything's in black and white, but you can still see the entire room. So that's huge. That's another big plus there. So, and I guess that's all I can think of offhand for the positives. Now the negatives. There's only a couple of them. One of them was probably in my mind. I think one of the negatives, and I'm not exactly sure, this could be in my head, but field of view. It seemed like it might have been a little bit smaller through the Rift headset. At first, I originally thought that maybe the lenses are a little bit further away from my eyes because I was wearing glasses underneath the headset, but I took the glasses off, put the headset back on, and brought it to my eyes as close as possible. That didn't make a difference. The field of view was still the same. So versus the CV1, the Rift S feels like the field of view might be a little bit smaller. But my son thinks the field of view is the same. He said he didn't really notice anything different in the field of view between the two headsets. And I think the other negative, and this is another one I'm not exactly sure about, is the refresh rate, because the Rift S has a refresh rate of 80 hertz versus 90 for the CV1. My son didn't notice anything. I'm watching him playing Pavlov right now as we speak. It's running smooth. But when I popped in PokerStars VR, when the game first loaded up, there was a couple of moments where the game started out running choppy, and it was almost like the frames had to catch up. But once it started, it seemed like once it caught up, it was running smoothly. I didn't really, it didn't have that, that choppy drop frames look. So that negative right there, I can't really even say it's a negative. It's just, it's just something that I noticed when I fired up the PokerStars VR. That might be, I don't know, maybe a slight compatibility issue now that the Rift S is hooked up to my computer versus the CV1 that was there. So for the most part, uncompetitive. 80 hertz appears to be okay. My son said he didn't notice any kind of choppiness in Pavlov. He said it ran smooth. He didn't notice like any kind of like drop in frames or anything like that. No motion sickness or nothing like that. So I think another positive about the Rift S is that the headset is slightly lighter than the CV1 and it's more comfortable. Mr. Pyle, what is up? So, and that's another positive is that when they made that headset, they did make it with people in mind who wear glasses. So just like the PlayStation VR, where it's got that little button where you can slide the headset, the lens part of it, back and forth, for depth, to allow you to wear glasses underneath it. They did have that in mind. So I was able to wear glasses underneath it. Yeah, on competitive, the 80 hertz was a concern of mine. That was something the tracking in the 80 hertz was something that I was apprehensive about before I bought it. Another thing that I was apprehensive about was the LCD panel. I heard about the blacks not being as black as the CV1. I didn't really notice. I mean, the blacks weren't pitch black, but they were still black. So it actually the colors had some pop. But I probably say one of the biggest things where you can definitely see a difference in the resolution is like when you pull up like a main menu screen, where you go to your settings and gameplay and all that kind of stuff. That is crystal clear. It was clear, on the CV1, but you could still see the soft edges. But this one, like the edges are shown so sharp, you could cut, right through a piece of meat with it. So without question, up close, you could definitely notice the resolution bump. So all in all, I think it's got more positives than negatives. And now that they've got that tracking issue resolved, if someone were to ask me if they said they were thinking about buying a Rift S and would ask me for my opinion, based on the headsets that are coming out this year, I would tell them that I hate to say it, the Rift S might be the best value. Excuse me. Because you're not going to get a headset with a resolution of 1440 for cheaper than $400. Anything with a better resolution bump than the Rift S is going to cost more. So, you have the Vive, the Valve Index, which is $1,000, and there's already shit coming out of there. There are issues with the Knuckles controller, in particular, the thumbsticks. I guess like one of the thumbsticks, you can't click it down far enough, and that's compromising some of the gameplay. Valve has tried to sidestep that issue and say that the controls were designed that way. Oh yeah, it came with controllers. Uncompetitive, the Rift S, it did come with controllers. For the most part, the controllers on the Rift S are the same as the touch controllers on the CV1. The difference is the rings. The rings on the CV1 are underneath the controllers, whereas the rings on the Rift S are above the controls. And Oculus said they had to do it that way, I'd imagine, in order to get a good, connection between the headsets and the controllers. So there, with the CV1 controllers, there was ways that I could turn my hand, and if I felt the controls slipping out of my hand, I could just let the controller rest on my hand by way of that ring, because your hand is going through that ring, whereas on the Rift S, your hand isn't going through that ring because it's on top. So you constantly have to be conscious of the way that you're holding the controllers. But for the most part, they are good controllers. I would prefer the CV1 controllers, but these controllers are still good. I don't know the rings. I don't know about the CV1 controllers. I don't know if the rings play any part in the tracking, but I do believe that the rings on the Rift S, it does have something to do with the tracking, I do believe, because Oculus said they had to make it that way, because that was one of the big questions about why the rings were on top. versus the bottom on the CV1, and Oculus said they had to do it that way. So I'm assuming it's because of tracking, especially when you don't have any sensors anymore and you got cameras using this inside out tracking. So that was another thing that made me a little bit apprehensive about the tracking, but I can't say enough about how pleasantly surprised I was about the tracking. And I went through and tested the games that I said that that I was concerned about. Games like Space Junkies, where you have to reach behind your shoulders to pull out weapons and shields and that kind of stuff. Space Junkies, Pavlov, Blood and Blatant Sorcery. Those games, I tested them all, and I was able to reach behind my shoulder with no problem whatsoever. Space Junkies, I was able to reach behind my shoulder, pull out that light sword, pull out the shield. So does it use magnetism? I don't know. So I really couldn't tell you uncompetitive. All I can tell you is that the tracking works. I would probably say at this point the tracking works just as good as the standard Rift, if not better. So all in all, I say there's more positives than negatives. And the two things that I had the negative concerns about, like I said, some of it might have been just in my head. It wasn't something where I was like, boom, this field of view, looks through like I'm looking through a tunnel, or I'm seeing drop frames, that kind of shit. It wasn't something that was like that was obvious, So definitely more positive. The resolution, the tracking, the colors, those are definitely the biggest positives that I noticed right out the gate. As we speak right now, my son's playing Pavlov. We're planning on doing another Space Junkie stream today where I'm going to be on the PlayStation VR and he's going to be on Oculus, and we're going to play together, which I think is pretty cool. That's one of the great things about these games being crossplay. Crossplay on VR, I think that's something that we do need versus flat screen games when Microsoft was trying to put the pressure on Sony for the crossplay, because I think in Microsoft's I believe their reasons for wanting crossplay was to try to slow down PlayStation sales, because if you allow crossplay between those two platforms, there are going to be people on the Xbox side that won't see a need to get a PlayStation, depending on what games they want to play. In the case of VR, it's growing, but I don't think the community is big enough where they can start trying to separate people yet. We need to stay together. The more games that are crossplay, the better. Because I think in the case of VR, they might as well let it be crossplay, because if there's a particular game that I want, for instance, a game like Pavlov, if they separated that shit, I'm not going to have HTC Vive and go buy one version for the Oculus and a separate version for the HTC Vive to accommodate, friends and shit like that. As far as these PC headset goes, Oculus rules the landscape. So, but when a game is crossplay, that is definitely beneficial for the growth of VR. That is beneficial to keep the communities together, to keep the community together. So again, I got a little bit off track, but Ubisoft, I think all their VR games, I think like Eagle Flight, Space Junkies, and definitely Star Trek Bridge Crew, all those games are crossplay. So that is definitely great for VR all together. There's supposed to be some crossplay games coming up between Oculus Rift and Oculus Quest. I think there's a battle royale game coming. So that's definitely a game that's going to be in my sights when my son gets his Oculus Quest. My son should get his Oculus Quest next weekend. I ordered it. I ordered it about a week ago. It's slated to arrive sometime between the 19th and the 22nd, but with Amazon, you actually get your shit a couple of days sooner than projected. So it's very well possible that I could, get my I could get the Quest here in a few days. You said Microsoft wanted to start hammer-hagging players to Sony's console with crossplay. I think with crossplay, I simply think they were trying to slow down Sony sales because Sony was just beating their heads in so goddamn bad. Not even, maybe not even so much to slow down the Sony sales, but to to maybe keep people into their ecosystems. Because if people go over to if people jump from the Xbox to the PlayStation and they get a hold of all those tasty ass PlayStation exclusives and then see that they can still play the same third-party games over there with no compromises, they might say, fuck it, it might not come back to the Xbox. So by having crossplay, you keep them on the Xbox side. So now they might not run out and buy a PlayStation if they want to play with their friends that have PlayStations. If you allow crossplay, it stifles PlayStation sales and it keeps them in the Xbox ecosystem, so they'll continue to spend money at the Xbox store. If they end up jumping over to the PlayStation side, then they're going to spend their money over there. So there was more than one motive for Microsoft to want crossplay. Sony gave them enough to shut their mouth up, but for the most part, I'm glad Sony didn't go all the way in with that shit. I didn't think they should have did it in the first place. Uncompetitive, you say, I bought Star Trek Bridge Crew when it came out, and I've yet to play it. Uncompetitive, if you like the Star Trek series, you absolutely have to play Star Trek Bridge Crew. Have you at least put the headset on and at least looked at the Star Trek Bridge Crew? The first time I put that headset on, and you're inside this shuttle, and the shuttle is going around a space station, and as you're kind of making this right turn, you start to see one of the engines of the USS Aegis. And as you go further around that corner, around that right turn, the ship comes into full view, and when you see that ship in its full size, it is crazy. That's just the power of VR. Also, you said uncompetitive, Microsoft are keeping people on Xbox because that's where friends are. But there's a tipping point where enough of your friends go to Sony that you have to jump across. Exactly. That's another reason for crossplay, because if you jump across, you're going to be spending your money over at the PlayStation store and not the Xbox store. If they can keep you on their side of the fence, you're going to spend money over there at their store. It's going to be a little bit easier if you're on the Xbox side to buy a third-party game that you want to play with your friends that have PlayStations. If you can play with them, and then you can still, buy the microtransactions and the DLCs and shit like that over from the Microsoft store. So there was more than one reason for them to want to try to get people, try to push that crossplay. But believe me, if the scores would have been reversed, where if it would have been 100 million Microsoft to 40 million Sony, crossplay would have never came out of their mouth, because they shot that shit down last generation. So the only area where Microsoft and Sony could do crossplay, where I would not object to it, is if they did crossplay on VR. If they end up bringing VR to Scarlet. Because for the overall growth of the industry, I would not have a problem with people on Xbox and people on PlayStation VR doing crossplay. For the growth of VR, I would not have a problem with that. But other than that, no, stay over there, Uncompetitive, you also say, I haven't played much VR of late, as I've had to listen out for my sick mother. Then I had a lot of people ringing my doorbell, and now I'm moving and now you're moving house. So I'm sorry to hear that. I should be back to playing VR and ignoring the world by Christmas. Okay. Yeah, you got to play that Star Trek Bridge Crew at least once. And I also have to warn you that when you play Star Trek Bridge Crew, you must have a full crew, because if you play that game and you are short a crewman, it's going to show, because everybody has a specific job to do. And if you have a person that's not there doing their job, it's going to cripple the ship. Atomic Wasteland. Once PS5 comes out, crossplay will be a bigger part of VR. Xbox has nothing left to offer anymore. I'm trading in my Xbox for a PS5 Pro, or if you mean PlayStation Pro, PlayStation Pro, I'm sorry, for VR. Just got my Quest 2 days ago. I should have my Quest next Friday, hopefully Atomic Wasteland. But tell me how you like that Quest, because speaking of the Quest, yeah, it's 4-player uncompetitive. Speaking of the Quest, I found a reason when my son's Oculus Quest comes next Friday, he may have to pry me away from it, because Oculus, not Oculus, Poker Stars VR is on the Oculus Quest. That is huge for me. And the reason for that is because I can play it in my bedroom. I can sit on the bed and play Poker Stars VR, and I don't have to get up and draw out a play area or clear out this or clear out that, because my bedroom is really, really small. You got just enough room to walk in there and walk out. So I wouldn't have to come into the living room to play Poker Stars VR. Hell, I could sit in the bathroom and play Poker Stars VR on the toilet. Oh boy, all the advantages of a wireless headset. You're gonna have more headsets than heads. Uncompetitive this said, yeah, that looks really cool. Learning a lot about side loading. So there's a few games on Steam I could play. Yeah, I definitely want to get into that side loading. Another thing about the Oculus Quest that I'm curious about is the VR desktop and remote play. Because if that works, if it works the way I think it does, Master Chief, you need a weapon, you better find an arms dealer. No wires is so great. I was going to say about the remote play with the Oculus Quest. If that works the way it's supposed to, the plan is for my son to be home and still let him tap into my computer, through his network at home, and be able to play games, over the internet on my PC remotely. I see you. That's another really cool feature again about the Rift S, is when you go outside that Guardian, how you can see the entire room that you're in. So you don't have to lift your head up. If you don't have to lift your head up to see the living room or whatever. You said there's apps now you can download that make it really fun as well. Oh, let me look at this head on. Okay, that's a little bit better. Atomic Wasteland. About the 360 no scope, some news, huh? Okay, all right, go ahead. So Atomic Wasteland. At first. I felt there was no reason for me to get an Oculus Quest. My biggest reason is like I don't want to drop $800 for the Rift S and then drop it, for both of them, the Rift S and the Quest. It's one or the other. And being that my son wants a Quest, there it is right there. So I don't need to buy a Quest. So I'll just, I can resort to playing his on the weekends when he comes over. But still, to be able to play Poker Stars VR on the Quest, I'm absolutely excited about that. So if there's a situation where my son is playing Pavlov on my Rift S, I can grab his Quest and go into the bedroom, stretch out on the bed or something like that, prop up some pillows and play Poker Stars VR. So even with watered down graphics, I'm definitely excited about the Rift, the Quest now. I'm actually excited to to see what that's like when it shows up next Friday. I will do an unboxing of that when we get that. I was going to do an unboxing of the Rift S today, but I figured, hey, you guys seen the video of me going into Best Buy, making the purchase. I held the box up, showed it to everybody. It showed that I made the purchase. So I really didn't I didn't really see the need to come home and make an unboxing video. And when I opened the box, that was it. It was just a headset and 2 controllers in the box. No special shit in there, just plugged it up and then and set it up and gone, so. Get another drink here.
I was trying to shoot myself.
But oh yeah, Defector. I don't know if Gamertag VR is still in here, but I was watching him play Defector yesterday. And this is an Oculus exclusive. And basically, Defector looks like the way the game starts out, it looks like their version of Blood and Truth. But there's like full locomotion in this game. There's full locomotion in this game, and it's not like Blood and Truth where it's a point and click. Jay Swolls, what's going on, man? What's going on, man? What's going on, man? It's not a point and click situation with the Defector like Blood and Truth is. So I'm definitely excited about trying this game. I popped it in for a minute, just to see what's going on with the game. It starts out like Blood and Truth, where it looks like some kind of CIA agent is interrogating you about your encounters with an arms dealer, and then from there, I'm on the as you're telling the story, what happened. You're actually playing the game. So I was on the plane with this arms dealer getting ready to have a conversation with him, and that's where I stopped, because I wanted because the first time I tried it, I didn't have glasses on, and I was still trying it on the CV1. But now that I've got the Rift S with better resolution and I'm wearing glasses and I can wear glasses underneath the headset, I am absolutely excited about playing Defector. I don't know if I'll do a stream on that today, because my son pretty much handcuffed the Rift S from me. I know he's going to be on that all day, because he's absolutely elated about the tracking and the resolution bump. And then we're going to do a Space Junkie stream together where we play together, where I'm on the PlayStation VR and he'll be on the Rift S with us standing right next to each other. And that'll be another cool thing about that, is that if he goes outside the Guardian, he'll be able to see the living room and see right where I'm at, so he won't bump into me. So at the end of the day, my overall thoughts on the Rift S is that I still think it's the best. I still think it's the best deal for the money. Just $1,000, again, with the Valve Index, that's $1,000, and then you having these issues with the controller already. And then even if there wasn't any issues, with these manufacturing defects or something like that with the controllers, I would still be concerned about support for the controllers, the same way there was a lack of support for the Kinect on the Xbox One. I would be concerned about how many of these developers are going to go back and remap these controllers to work for the Knuckles controller. That's a big concern of mine, and is Valve themselves going to put out content to support these controllers? So that's a lot of uncertainty for $1,000. So with that, and I wasn't going to pay it. I just was not going to pay $1,000. But I was willing to pay $400 for the Rift S if I saw more positives in the headset than I see negatives. And they answered one of the biggest negatives with the 1.39 update that miraculously, drastically improved tracking. So I think that alone probably makes the Rift S worth the buy. The resolution bump, as well as the great tracking, now that they sent that update through. I don't know how they did it. I don't know what they did. I just know that tracking works. So the people who made videos talking about the improved tracking was not lying. So take it from somebody on the crumb side, not somebody that's got 50,000 subscribers and, might be trying to, make a video just so they can stay in the good graces of Oculus. I pay for the shit with my own money. I've got no reason to lie. The tracking is great. So in my previous video on the road trip video, Andrew Wilkins, what is up, man? Haven't seen you in a while, man. How you been doing? In my previous video on the Rift S road trip, I spoke a little bit about Assassin's Creed and Splinter Cell, rumored to be coming to VR. Rumor has there's a report, I guess, with somebody with some knowledge is saying that Oculus is looking to buy some studios, and they have a deal with Ubisoft to bring Assassin's Creed and Splinter Cell games to Oculus. Now, that's an interesting situation because according to these rumors, Splinter Cell in VR is supposed to be an Oculus exclusive, which brings me to a big question that if Microsoft partners with Oculus to bring the Oculus Rift S to Xbox Scarlet, would those people be able to play Splinter Cell in VR, being that it's supposed to be an Oculus exclusive? That would be, that'd be a big question mark right there. But I will say, like the Assassin's Creed, I've never played any of the Assassin's Creed games before. But if they put it in VR, I'm willing to play it. Because you saw, if anybody's seen any of my streams, at the very least, I at least took a look at Skyrim. I've never played Skyrim before until I played it in VR. So I was willing to take a look at it, being that it was in VR. Same thing with Assassin's Creed. Now, the Splinter Cell in VR is a totally different animal because I think out of the Splinter Cell games, I think Splinter Cell Double Agent, the 3-on-3. Yeah, I think it's the 3-on-3 spies versus mercs versus spies versus mercenaries. That was excellent. I absolutely love that. I didn't even play the campaign because the multiplayer on that was so damn good. And if they were going to do any of those games in VR, I would love for them to do Splinter Cell Double Agent in VR. That would be the one for them to do in VR. And if they did that game, like didn't touch it and just reformatted it for VR, that would be excellent. Especially if they could put the multiplayer in there and do that. That would be huge. That would be so fucking fun. I swear to God. I probably wouldn't play much else. Fatal Sharad, you seriously never played Skyrim until VR? That is correct. I've never played Doom until I played it in VR. I played Doom last summer, and I've never played it until I played it in VR. I told you, Fatal Sharad, there's a lot of games out there that, despite their popularity, I'm not interested in playing them. But if these games were to come to VR, at the very least, I will give them a look. Now, I was going to buy Fallout 4 because, Fallout 4 is in VR at the Steam store, but I think it still might be like $30. Now, like a goddamn dummy, when the shit was on sale for like $10, I should have bought it, but I didn't because I was still trying to decide whether I was trying to tell Bethesda to eat my asshole or not because I don't like them. You said Doom was great in VR, but way too short. Atomic Wasteland. Okay. I don't know. Like, I got mixed feelings about Bethesda. I don't like the shit that they're doing with Fallout 76. It's shady as fuck. But I do like that they're investing in VR, but I don't like how they're double dipping. I don't like how they sold Skyrim for $60, and then when they reintroduced it to VR, now the game's like 5-6 years old after they brought it to VR, and they still charging $60 for it. That's a catch-22. I understand the game has hours and hours and hours of gameplay, but it's still older than dirt. So I feel like they should have met people in the middle and sold that game for $30 right out the gate. You know, the price didn't drop down to $30 until, like, in my opinion, until shit started slowing down with it. So, but I think that's going to be Bethesda's MO when it comes to VR. I think they're going to make the flat screen version of the game first, and then after a few years, when the game is like irrelevant, they're going to bring it back to life by, you know, putting it in VR. Excuse me, Master Chief. Big shout out to my Xbox Nation. Unfortunately, Master Chief, the only way they get a big shout out from me is if Microsoft brings VR to the Xbox format. Skyrim VR still has the same bugs as when it was first released. Kind of sad. And I guess that's Bethesda for you. I ended up giving that game away. I knew I wasn't going to finish it. I do want AAA games for VR, but I don't want a Red Dead Redemption type game in VR where I'm spending 800 hours playing the game. I'm also ready for the next generation to hurry up and get here. Because as much as I don't like EA, I would love to see a fully playable FIFA game in VR, and I'd love to see a fully playable Madden game in VR. I'd love to see a fully playable NBA 2K game in VR. Now, MLB The Show, I think we're going to get that. I think if they can do it, they're going to do it. Because I know when VR first came out, Sony said, I think San Diego Studios is who develops the MLB The Show game. They were asked about bringing MLB The Show to VR, and they said we're exploring every possibility. So I really believe that. I really believe that if there was some way they could have brought that game to VR, they would have done it. But I think the hardware is just too weak for them to do it the way they would want to do it. But I'd like to think the next generation, that hardware is going to be strong enough that they will be able to do it. At the very least, be able to put in a home run derby mode for VR. He said, uncompetitive, Forza Motorsport 8 will likely support VR. That would be the only way I would ever buy a Forza game again, uncompetitive, is if it's in VR. Fatal Sharad, you said I think Microsoft consoles is I think what you said I don't think Microsoft consoles are strong enough to support VR outside of the X. Maybe I'm not even sure the X could do it. The same situation that I said about the Xbox Scarlet is the same situation, in my opinion, that they had with the Xbox One X. Being that they were going to partner up with Oculus, they didn't have to do shit. All they had to do was let Oculus bring the headset and their library over to the Xbox store. Microsoft, we know they're not going to develop any VR games. They just not going to do it. They're not going to spend the money. You said the X was supposed to do VR, but nope. I'm led to believe this was going to go down one of two ways, that there was already some software in the Xbox One X that was going to allow it to do VR, or Oculus was probably going to make a processor box like the PlayStation VR has. I think that's how it was going to go down. But either way, to me, Microsoft didn't have anything. They didn't have to do anything except let Oculus come in and do what they're going to do. Let them do what they do. Because you're not going to see any kind of VR game that says Microsoft Studios on it. It's just not going to happen. At least not this generation. I think with all these AA studios that Microsoft's picking up right now and putting out all these, getting ready to put out all these bullshit ass bleeding edge type games, why not have one of those developers make a a VR game. If they do bring VR to Scarlet, why not have one of those developers make a game? I mean, because truth be told, the majorities of these VR games that's out there now are indie games. A lot of them are cheap looking games. You know, you got a few high budget games out there, but most of them is like cheap indie looking games. So to me, it should be a breeze for one of these bootleg developers that Microsoft picked up to do a VR game. Maybe at least do one. Have them do one Microsoft exclusive VR game and put everything they got into it to draw everybody, you know, to draw that much more people over there. Because if Microsoft did have that one hit VR game, think of the must-have games over here on the PlayStation side for the PlayStation VR. Must-have games, in my opinion, are Firewall, Astrobot. If you want to play golf, everybody's golf is a must-have. Sony's got a few must-haves over there. So if Microsoft allows Oculus to set up camp over on Xbox Scarlet, there's no reason for me to buy that console. But if Microsoft allows Oculus to come over there and set up camp, and then they throw a couple of Microsoft exclusive VR games on top of what Oculus is bringing over there, that might be enough to make me strongly consider getting Anaconda, because I've already got the Oculus Rift headset now. So if they were to go that route, I would only have to just plug my shit into Scarlet, and that's that. You said they could do Microsoft Flight Simulator in VR with Windows AR. Okay. Uncompetitive. You said, you think Microsoft hoped to put a stronger processor in the X. And Riyad Dewan, you said you want a bomber game in VR. Hey, it's like I said, I'm willing to try. Like, I love VR so much. Games that I never would have taken a look at before, I'm willing to try them in VR. So I'm still watching my son play Pavlov. I think when I get done with this podcast, which I am going to wrap it up here in a few minutes, I'm going to grab a bite to eat, probably take a short nap. And then later on today, again, at some point later on today, we're going to go ahead and do the Space Junkie stream where we'll be playing together. Also, I think I'm going to go ahead and do that Defector, do that stream. I know Gamertag did it yesterday for a couple hours, but I think I'm going to go ahead and do it too.
How do you get that?
A Ratchet and Clank in VR would be pretty cool too, because that's actually Ratchet and Clank was the first game that I saw on the PlayStation Pro. That was the first game I saw that got the enhancement patch, because when I bought my PlayStation Pro, it came with a game. The place where I bought it from said, they was like, you get a free game. And I'm like, what? It was like, yeah. And I'm like, what do I get? And they was like, you can choose from MLB The Show or Ratchet and Clank. At that time, MLB The Show was out of season, because the PlayStation Pro came out in November of 2016. So MLB The Show was out of season, so I chose Ratchet and Clank for my free game. And Christopher Hart, you said right. When I was thinking about Ratchet and Clank VR, Astrobot was announced for VR. Astrobot's a fun game. I'm sorry that I got away from those streams, but again, I reached the point where I got stuck, and I can't get past it. I'm going to come back to it sooner or later and try to get past that point. Once I get past that point, then I'll start streaming Astrobot again. But I don't want to keep making streams over and over again where I keep getting stuck and keep, and keep flunking out. So once I get past that point, then I'll start doing the Astrobot streams again, because that's actually a really, really fun game. It's got the Mario feel to it, but it's still a really fun game. Yeah, right there, Christopher Hart. Sony knew people were gonna want a platform game, but that's that little Astrobot right there. That's not the only VR experience that Sony has. There's another free experience where you're using that Astrobot, and I guess you're inside of a kitchen or something. So yeah, I have Moss. I can't say whether I'll get. It's a good game. I just don't know if I'll ever get back to it. Robots Rescue. I'm not sure I'm familiar with that one. That's you okay? You talking about the Astrobot game? I'm sorry, Christopher Hart. So I had drew a blank there for a second. Another game that and then like there's still some more hot games coming out this year. I'll probably say the two games that I'm definitely looking forward to is Asgard's Wrath, which is going to be another Oculus exclusive, and Iron Man VR. Looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to the No Man's Sky VR, but at the same time, I got an eyebrow raised because I never played the game before. I really don't want to touch the flat screen version of the game. I know people keep telling me to play the game so I can get acclimated with it, so I'll be ready when the VR update comes out. But I guess I just want to go in head first when the VR update comes out. Atomic Wasteland, you said that Mario Kart ripoff looks really good. Yeah, there's some cheap ass looking Mario Kart game at the PlayStation Store. I didn't buy it because some of these multiplayer VR games are dead. Some of them you go in there and there's just nobody there. That's one of the that's probably the bad thing about VR, especially over on Steam. You got a shitload of games over there, and to me, you got too many games and not enough people to play them. He said a proper Spider-Man VR game would be nice. You know something, Riyad Dewan? I think it can happen. I think we could very well see a Spider-Man VR game next generation on the PS5, because that Spider-Man Far From Home little VR thing right there where you're swinging through the city that like came out a couple of weeks ago, that was well received. It was so well received that the developers was asked if it was coming to other platforms, and they did confirm that it's going to come to, I guess they're trying to get it to the Quest. I'm not going to say confirmed, but they are trying to get it to the Quest. It has been well received, and I know Sony has got to be looking at that. With that being said, I think it's within the realm of possibility that we could see a full-blown Spider-Man VR game in a couple of years. You said touring carts is better than VR carts? Christopher Hart, I haven't played either of them. My VR backlog, Christopher Hart, is getting pretty bad. Because my flat game backlog is pretty bad as it is. I got a ton of games that I just know I'm never going to get around to. And the fact that, I love VR so much makes it even harder for me to come back and play those games. But I'm slowly but surely building up a backlog of my VR games. There's so many different experiences out there. Oh, today I want to go swimming. Let me check out this, this swimming game. Oh, today I want to fly a plane. Let me check out this flight simulator. I want to box today. Let me go buy this boxing game. That kind of stuff. There's so many different experiences out there. And when a new experience come out that you haven't seen before, you want to buy it just so you can see what it looks like, even if you only pop the shit in for 5 minutes. I got so many games that I bought just to pop them in and look at them for 5 minutes because they were different experiences. You said touring carts is not out yet, but it's the answer to people who want VR kart racing and didn't like VR karts. Okay, I'll take a look at that. I'm also wondering when Drive is going to, come out, because that was a game that the developer sent me a key, and I did a on the fly impressions of the game. And he told me that it was a work in process. It was still like an alpha build, that he still needed work. But I know the game is going to come to Steam. You know, it's going to come to PC. It's supposed to come to PlayStation VR as well. If it comes to VR, if it comes to the PlayStation VR, that's actually going to plug a huge hole over there because it just ain't any. It's just not very many racing games over there, especially multiplayer. So I think when that game comes out, I think I'm going to buy it on the PlayStation VR. Just so I can have a racing game over there and not always doing these time trials on GT Sport where there's nobody on the track. Besides, with the game being over on the PlayStation format, I stand a better chance of having more people to play multiplayer with versus on PC. In Atomic Wasteland, you said touring carts. Is touring carts the one with AT-ATs and you can throw banana skins at people? I don't know.
Yes.
So I've been on a little bit over an hour. Let me check in 4G and upload VR real quick for any of the latest news before I go ahead and sign out and see if there's anything worth talking about. Let me see. The roundtable talked about Microsoft will be closing any accounts that have been inactive for over 2 years. Here's an article that says Sony should offer premium and low-end PlayStation consoles at launch. Don't go telling Sony how to do their shit. Leave them the fuck alone. Let's see here. Final Fantasy 7 remake PS4 exclusivity is a bigger deal than you think. Let's see. I'm worried about Gears 5. Days Gone has an update. In 4G, there's just nothing really. Let me go to upload VR. See here, Defector review, an exciting VR spy thriller built around replayability. I did like the one section there was a quick thing that I saw on trailers and shit like that where you're in this room and they're training you to fight. And then here's this right here report: Assassin's Creed VR and Splinter Cell VR coming exclusively to Oculus. Says Hotel R&R gloriously gruesome destruction could deliver VR's next Gorn. Let's see here. Rise of Insanity comes to PlayStation VR. I've seen a couple of people, I think, streaming that. Says Defector developer has more VR games that will push the medium, which the game has good graphics. Oh yeah, there's a scene where you drive the car right out of that cargo plane and ran a couple of people over as you were driving out. The launch Defector launch live stream, Mission Impossible VR style action. Oh yeah, the big screen TV adds over 50 free live channels to social VR platform. That is something I'm definitely going to have to check out because Mike of Virtual Reality Oasis did a video a couple of days ago talking about that, how you can watch free TV on big screen on a big screen app. That's also big screen also is definitely on the Oculus Quest. I know that to be a fact because I was sitting in theaters with people that was on Oculus Quest. So, but I think that's all I see out of Upload VR. Couple of interesting stories, but nothing that I jump in there going to read. Christopher Hart, in touring carts, you can combine a rocket launcher with a banana and make a banana rocket. All right. Oh, excuse me. Oh, I'm starting to get hungry again, too. Oh, damn, I forgot. Oh, shit. I got to go get a prescription filled as well. I'm out of insulin, and I've got to go get this prescription refilled, and I've got to get that done by 9 o'clock. So I definitely got to wrap this up because I still got a lot of shit to do. So with that being said, I'm going to get ready to boogie on out of here. Thanks, everybody, for watching. I really, really appreciate it. Again, keep your eyes out for another Space Junkie stream with myself and my son. Depending on if he's willing to give the Oculus up for a little while, I will do a defector stream because again, that looks like, you know, the Oculus version of Blood and Truth. Looks like a really cool game. Really anxious to play it once, you know, especially with playing it through the Oculus Rift S, where I got, you know, better resolution, better picture. So that's gonna do it for me. Give it a like, comment, share, all that good stuff. And I'm gonna boogie on out of here. I really appreciate it. And so all in all, I would, you know, overall, I would give the Oculus Rift S a thumbs up. I think if you want a headset with a good resolution that won't break your damn head open like the Valve Index costing $1,000, or the HP Reverb that's going to cost about $700, I think the Rift S is a good buy. Hey, Atomic Wasteland, we'll catch you later. Uncompetitive, we'll catch you later. Thanks for joining. I really appreciate it. So I'm out of here, y'all. I will holler at y'all later. Peace.